welcome to For the Fans. I'm Sheldon, along with the beautiful Kylie, the handsome DeLucas, and the brilliant Josh. We're here to give you our BB Can Episode 10, Episode 11 recap. It's been a week after one crazy week of Kyle's reign of terror. Wow, we've seen a lot happen. We thought he was going to be safe, but things may have gone awry for Kyle. So we got a lot to talk about. Everybody doing good?
Great.
Doing well.
Who's excited?
I am.
Let's go. Okay, so we start off our first episode, and you see Gino puts up Jess and Marty on the block. Jess, somebody that he's been going for basically since the beginning. And Marty, somebody who was his French daddy from the start. How do we feel?
I mean, I can understand, like, okay, I thought I was in an alliance with you. You completely left me out of this. You blindsided me, and being a little bit hurt by Gino, but then to turn around and put him on the block when you were just blindsided by the whole house. So, you probably need to try to repair the relationships that were closest to you and then work on the relationships for people that are not as close to you. So don't love this decision initially.
I think Kyle obviously has a complete uphill battle to try to win some people over. But here is the issue that he is going right into this, right? He is going into the eviction, burning Moose, burning Josh, and burning Steph, who was already straight out the door, so that's already gone. Like, he has 2 burned players and also burned Herman and also pissed off Marty. So that's 4 people already kicking him straight out the door, and then Summer's not a fan of him. So it's like, yeah, it's already literally donezo for Kyle. So the question being, had he able to flip the script on that? We'll find out in a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I question Gino being so upset at Marty when he should be looking at Kyle, who essentially went after people in their alliance, right? So did Marty do something so bad when Kyle is the one who set this in motion in the first place? So I question that motive, and knowing how Kyle has, burned so many bridges, to now ostracize Marty even further. Probably not the best move for Gino up front, right off the bat.
Well, I think in Gino's defense for that, Marty did push for Josh to be on the block to Kyle. So I can understand why Gino's frustration in regards to that, but it solely should have been put on Kyle. I do agree with you on that one. It was all Kyle's, Kyle made the decision to go for it. He didn't have to listen to Marty, but therefore he did. And that's what happened. And that's what got him into that position in the first place.
Yeah.
So what I think that's kind of always bugged me about Big Brother is that the game actually isn't a 7-day-a-week game. The game is Thursday through to Monday, and then they chill, right?
Yeah.
And you saw hell happen on Thursday. That same night, just probably an hour or two later, Gino wins HOH. And then the next morning, afternoon, he has to nominate. So it's not as though he had that much time to deal with his emotions. He didn't have that much time to deal with the betrayal and to actually start thinking through, oh my God, it was Kyle. It's not Marty. Marty did the smart thing. Right? So that's something that's really a big part of this game. They don't have that much time. They have to react. Mm-hmm. Right? And I kind of think that's a little bit unfair, but also, part of the fun. So you have Jess up, you have Marty up, and right away we see Marty by himself. Jess tries to go into a room to console him. He kind of says, I just need to be alone. I feel disrespected. I feel heartbroken. I feel like I've been backstabbed. I don't get it. Why? He backstabbed Gino. He backstabbed Kyle just yesterday.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I mean, I think that the main thing is if you're looking at it just from a game standpoint, obviously Marty screwed Gino over. But, if Marty's just looking at it okay, hey, I had to go with the house. Like this is how things were presented. I realized like aligning myself with Kyle wasn't the good thing to do. You know, Marty basically came to the same conclusion that Gino does by the end of the week, but he came to it sooner. But I think that Marty's problem is that he is hurt and offended by Gino on a personal level. Like you have basically, you know, like dragged my name through the mud in front of the entire country. And some of the accusations that you're making, you know, that just reflects badly on me for everyone that knows me. And so his feelings are hurt.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, but like, you know, toughen up, Buttercup. Really, this is the game of Big Brother, in my opinion. But the intent was not to F Gino over. The intent was to F Kyle over. And I think there could have been a salvage point between Marty and Gino. Had there, like you said, had there been a little bit more time for the dust to settle and nominations not to be the next day. I really believe Marty had Gino's back, even if he didn't go with the vote. But guess what? That would have only been 3 votes. And the intent of the week still wouldn't have happened. Right. So really, I feel like, again, the fingers are being pointed in the wrong direction, and we need to be holding Kyle more on a stake and holding him accountable.
Over the fire.
Right. Burn him.
I mean, like, in regards to, like, with Gino calling Marty, like, you know, that, like, he disrespected him, backstabbed. I think Gino was being a little overdramatic here. Like, Marty did not do any of that towards Gino. All he did not do was tell Gino, hey, the house has been flipped. You need to vote with the majority. Literally, that one simple conversation could have easily avoided Marty for being put on the block by Gino. But Marty decided to disassociate himself from Kyle and Gino, and he made that decision. That was solely on Marty. That was his decision. But obviously towards Gino, Marty didn't really think of the repercussions on like how he would feel if he was left out of the vote. So it's not fully on Marty, but again, I agree. All the fingers should have been pointed towards on Kyle in that regard.
But you see, like I actually kind of think that's Marty's social inability right now in the game.
I agree.
I don't understand why Marty didn't tell Gino what the vote was going to be before the vote happened. Maybe there's a reason to blindside Kyle. Maybe there's a reason to blindside Steph, but I don't fully understand the reason to blindside somebody who you've been working with this entire game.
That you're saying, this is my ride or die. And you know that Gino is not like putting himself out on a ledge for Steph. If Marty would have said, hey, Gino, the numbers are not there. You need to jump to the other side. Like Kyle has effed himself over and your continued association with him is going to be bad. You know, I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for me. We got to go with the house. And Gino would have been like, deuces, Kyle, right at that moment. And so
he would have been sad. He would have told Kyle, but there was nothing left to do. Like if you tell him, 3 hours before, there's no time to flip anything when the vote is that far gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think we also have to go back to that conversation where Marty was brought in and told, hey, we have had an alliance and we want to bring you in. So Marty's already feeling low man on the totem pole. So I can't blame him for allowing Gino and allowing JL to kind of make a bigger target of themselves because he wasn't in on the plan. So why should I protect you when I'm being added in later? So, and this game is all about having someone in front of you, right? Who's the house going to target before me? So I kind of don't blame him. And I think he should have just let it go and then try to salvage it afterwards.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So we then see in classic Marty style, Marty has a conversation with Gino. By the way, I love Marty episodes. I kind of find them interesting to watch. But like he goes to Gino and he says, "You are my target. JL is my target, and Kyle is my target. I'm going for what are you doing? You're on the block. He just put you up. Like, chill. Go win a power. Why are you telling him this? What's going on?"
Okay, I think Marty literally got his emotions out in front of Gino. That was a bad call. Like, for one, you do not lash out in front of the HOH says, "I'm coming for you," because then at that point it solidifies that Gino will try to rally the votes to get Marty out. Despite the fact that even though the house was not really wanting Marty to go yet, so I kind of see why Marty decided to go for that, but it's like, if if someone who is the HOH and you let your emotions get the better of you, and you decide to make what's the word I'm looking for? Irrational decisions to take shots at the HOH who just put you on the block. It's like you literally just went from having your chances from most likely to be safe above Jess to now all of a sudden to be the main target. Like, it didn't quite add up, in my opinion.
Possibly, because I mean, we get Summer, immediately telling Gino, like, hey, I understand why you made these nominations, but just to let you know, I've got Marty above Jess. And that's when Gino, I think, it begins to get the wheels turning of, oh, okay, maybe this wasn't my best decision. And he says, to be honest, I wouldn't mind if either one of them won veto. And so I really like that. It's very, very subtle, but something small that Gino does that I think, kind of saves face a little bit. And it's a good one to do it with Summer because Summer does have so much influence on the house.
Right.
100%.
I'll say this. Marty and Gino are the daddy-son fantasy that I dream about late at night. So thank you for that. But I will say this also. This has been Marty's game since day one. Telling people exactly what his motives are and stick maybe the blind side, whatever, but anything he's saying he's going to do, he's doing it. And to me, I'd rather hang out or work with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. So if I'm one of these other people, Marty is someone I want to keep in the game because I know he's going to tell me straight up what he's doing and where he's at. So I think Marty actually did himself a service this week. I do.
I completely agree. Except he didn't tell him about the vote. He didn't tell him.
He didn't tell Gino and JL, but everybody else.
I agree. He's an open book, and you're right. I want to play with open books. I'm scared about the ones that don't tell me everything.
Right.
So going from daddy and son dreams or wet dreams to our POV choices. You get Marty who spins. Marty can't play, but he gets a house guest choice. And who does he pick? What? Summer. He chooses Summer because, well, she wants Kyle gone. Good move. Then Jess spins. They choose Tanisha. Mm-hmm. Why? Well, because they're trying to build relationship with Tanisha. And finally, Gino spins, and it's Helena. Who are these POV choices going to help?
Marty and Jess, the two people that have proven that they're good at competitions, and their asses are on the line. You almost couldn't have. I mean, unless Betty would have been in there, you couldn't have got any better of a spin. Yeah. So if you're one of the two people on the block, this is best case scenario.
Yeah. I just want to touch base on the Josh and Marty conversation. Josh is playing the way that most of these people should be playing. I don't care that you came after me, Marty. I still want to work with you. Let's be best friends. Let's ride this out. In the back of his mind, I know he's plotting to get Marty out because Marty was actively targeting him. But that's how you play this game. You convince people, let's bygones be bygones. It's a new week. It's a new thing. Watch out for Josh. I don't know. I see winner vibes in Josh.
Winner pick.
Yeah, I see winner vibes.
Well, I think he needs to shave, but he is dangerous.
Oh God, I think with the veto picks, all I saw was a potentially Summer not use a veto. Tanisha absolutely will use the veto if Gino's thinking about putting Kyle up, and Helena will only do whatever Gino wants to do. So in terms of the veto picks, depending on who wins POV, Kyle could have been a backdoor target if they try to push for it. Because Summer T and I believe Marty and Betty were all in there. They were all discussing about whether or not they can try to prevent T from being a backdoor target and put Kyle up instead. So it's plausible. It's plausible for that.
The veto competition begins, and I've seen this veto before in BB Can. I love it. Mm-hmm. Basically, you get this beautiful conveyor belt, and there's gifts coming out of the conveyor belt, and it's the job of the house guests to stack those gifts up against the platform and themselves. And as more gifts come out, they have to add another gift to that stack and see how long they could last. Along the way, they get tempted with, cookies and milk. Who doesn't want some cookies and milk? Tanisha and Summer seem to love it. They got some, letters from home. What do y'all think? Well, actually, before we get there, drum roll, please. The winner is well, the final two, shockingly, were Jess and Marty. And for the fourth week in a row, who won? Marty, the person that was on the block and most likely the target. Marty wins. What do y'all think?
Loved this competition. I have not gotten to a Big Brother Canada season where they play this yet. So it was my first time seeing it, and really, really liked it. It was simple, but it was fun. Kind of something anybody can win. And that is what I, as I'm going through these BB Can seasons, I feel like a lot of their competitions are just anybody can win this. It's not necessarily suited for the most athletic or most fit guy. And so love that it's something that the oldest person in the house wins. And, Jess is the runner up, someone that, doesn't typically fit the mold of somebody you expect to win competitions.
Well, don't forget they won the first veto
Sure,
competition.
no. Jess is a competitor, but doesn't typically fit the mold of who you expect to win.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I like that it's an even playing field for a lot of these competitions where, someone that you may not expect. And this competition is about focus. It's about how bad do you want it. It's also got a little bit of a dilemma's twist in there, right? Do I take that letter from home like Tanisha? We saw the tears and the dramatics. I am very happy with how it played out and the winner of the competition. I think that, people are upset. Well, maybe one person is kind of upset, but I don't know. I don't think I don't think Marty goes home, even if he stays on the block.
I don't think he would have.
No, I think the veto competition was definitely very intense to watch. There was even a few temptations to go in there. But the one thing that was kind of interesting to me is that when Tanisha had the opportunity to go for the letter, she was bawling her eyes out and all of a sudden just let the letter go. I completely get why she was upset, but here's the thing. The package itself wasn't really that big. So even if you were to add another one to it, she still would have been okay. And
no, I'm 100% on board with her not getting it. If your name has been thrown around, and if you don't win the veto and one of the two nominees does, that you may get put up on the block, you don't take that damn letter. And so I co-sign her letting that box go because she didn't need to add the extra length to her.
No, I completely get that. I'm just saying that, if she really wanted to go for the letter, but even though she knows that her name is out there and potentially she could be up as a backdoor target, does she want to go for the letter or not? And she decided to not go for the letter. I'm just saying, if she wanted to go for the letter, it's better to have a smaller package than have the bigger packages where you had the two presents coming in. You got the smaller one and the bigger one. The smaller one was actually easier to manage, but Jess got the bigger one, which I think was a little more difficult to manage, but.
Yeah. I think Tanisha taking the letter could have went one or two ways, right? She could have been motivated and oh my God, I heard from home. But the other flip side of it is maybe it puts her on a tailspin and now she's super dramatic and upset. And now Gino's okay, well, Tanisha's that upset and missing her daughter. Let me put her ass on the block and get her out of here. Go home to your daughter.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think it was a smart move. If I'm in the house, I don't want to hear from nobody unless I won HOH because I don't want my head to come out of the game unless you're congratulating me and I'm going to Wendy's or whatever the case may be. I'm focused, especially if you have a little child, right? That could really take a toll on someone and essentially sink their game if they become, very emotional. And it's okay, well then let's get you out before jury. Because who's going to want to be in the jury house if you're crying over your daughter that much? I don't know. That's how I feel. I don't have kids though. So I don't know.
Fair. No, that's fair.
That you know of. So Marty wins. Marty wins, not HOH. Marty wins the power of veto. Hopefully, going to take himself off the block, and we see congratulations. Kevin comes up to him and congratulates him, and then runs away because he doesn't want people to see him with him. And then we see the most beautiful, romantic moment. DeLucas' daddy and son. Are they back together? After the cheat, after daddy cheated, is it time to come back together to the pantry? So you see Marty go up to Gino and says, I would like to repair the relationship. It's time. It's important to me. You have to understand everything was about Kyle. It had nothing to do with you. I think that we should try working together. I'm obviously going to go up the block, so you're going to be here next week. I'm going to be here next week. I don't want you to go. We need to work together, and nobody needs to know, and we need to keep up this facade forever. Finally, Marty is playing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Marty realizes that like he did made a mistake, and he wants to repair that relationship. Whether Gino wants to pursue with that is really up to him. Good news for both of them is that like their relationship is probably far beyond for like or for like beyond the scope of the game itself. So if so, like I could see Gino and Marty just easily just get back together and potentially do some damage for like most of the game. My one question is that is Gino actually going to continue to work with Marty down the line? I could see it maybe as a temporary alliance for like 2-3 weeks, and then potentially Gino can flip on Marty again. Like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I think this could be repairable. But I don't know what y'all think on that.
Yeah, I think it's repairable, and I like the idea of, hey, you know, I kind of said some things to you that were a little bit rough, and so, you know, if you want to zing it back at me, then I think that would be great. Let's, you know, as you said, let's keep up this act, and you know, we don't want people to know that we've come back together. And I love what Marty does.
I'm going to go against the grain here, and there's a word that was thrown around, optics, right? We heard a lot about optics, and I think this was Marty keeping the optics up with Gino. I don't think this is as repairable as we think. I think this is a way of Marty saying, "Hey, I fucked up for saying you're my target. Let me kind of let it simmer and let it go." But in this game, yes, you sometimes forgive for the sake of the game, but you can never forget. When someone betrays you once, you have to keep it in the back of your mind that they're going to do it again. And this game is about taking the shot before they take it at you. So
Yeah.
let's forgive it for now, but I ain't forgetting it.
The only difficult, so I kind of agree, but there's 2 points that I don't align with that. Number one, they've already gone tit for tat. Marty screwed over last week. This week, Gino screwed over. Like, if we're going 1-for-1, you're done.
Mhm.
Maybe.
We've canceled
Number
that.
two, they've already built a really deep relation. Like, it was so obvious, even during that pain. Like, we all know when we're upset at somebody, it's because we love them. It's not because we hate them. So that relationship is so like immensely deep, and they speak French with each other. I don't know. I think that's kind of hard. I do wonder if DeLucas, calm down. I do wonder if it is for real, and honestly, maybe it's for real to the point that they help each other get further. But to that sense, that's all you need in the game of Big Brother.
I think it's for real because I don't think Gino or Marty are on that level of strategy that they're thinking, hey, I'm going to use and manipulate this relationship. I just don't see that prowess from either one of them. So I think it's legit. You know, I think it's somebody that they originally connected with. We can repair this relationship. Neither one of us necessarily have anybody else that's that much closer to us. You know, even if Marty kind of goes with the other side, he's at the bottom of that. And Gino's on the outside of that. So you might as well come back together because neither one of you are in any better position without each other.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that. I think like in terms of Marty and Gino, like I think they both like even if they both are like even if the relationship is kind of like irreparable at that point, they both still need each other because like who knows if someone else from the other side wins HOH, Marty and Gino or Marty or JL or Gino and JL, any of the three combinations could easily go up on the block. So in hindsight 2020, they still need each other in that regard because Marty is in no good better position than what Gino is at the moment. So I agree with that.
So we then see two conversations. I think the two conversations that probably put the final coffin into Kyle's coffin. Okay, we see Summer go up there. Her job is very simple. She does not want T to go up there. And again, repeats the same argument from last time. Listen to me, Gino. Let me tell you this. I cannot trust you if Kyle's in the game and you are telling him everything. It is bad for you. Conversation number one. Conversation number two, right after that, Kyle comes in, and as Gino says into the diary room, he learned nothing from his reign of terror. And Kyle comes up and says, you know what? Let's put up Moose.
Yep.
And that was the end of
that was the light bulb moment that Gino needed because, you know, he did have Summer who is very, very good with her words and using the relationships that she has and does have a very good connection with Gino that you can see. And so she's driving it into his mind, and then Kyle immediately comes in, throws out Moose's name, and Gino's like, this dude's not learned jack shit from last week.
Yeah, like I think Summer definitely planted the right seeds effectively into Gino's mind, and then Kyle just spurted out the idea inside Gino's mind to backdoor Kyle. So it's literally Kyle's. Okay, so like here's a quite interesting thing with Kyle is that what made me realize is that like Kyle is his own worst enemy. No one is really painted the target on Kyle's back but Kyle. He did this all on himself for last week, and it's still spreading right himself for this week. He got his number 2, 3, 4 ally with Gino and JL decide to flip the script and put him straight on the block. And that is something that will be a life lesson for him, is to like read the room and fully realize the mistakes you made and to not make those same mistakes again. And therefore, he didn't learn his lesson yet until he eventually decides to get put up when the veto's used.
I've been waiting for you to say that, Josh, for so long now. So thank you for that.
Listen. I only okay, I'll be real here. I only defended Kyle is because I didn't catch up on the live feeds on that part. At least not yet. When I got caught up, I'm like, oh, that was embarrassing. Okay. Now I realize why Kyle is getting so like slandered. That's how I like. And then the difference between me and Kyle is that I realized my mistakes. Then he didn't realize his mistakes until like he got put up on the block.
This is muy interesante, okay?
Why are you giving your friend?
Because
That's Spanish.
That's Spanish. Never mind.
That was terrible Spanish. But this is interesting, Joshua, because before we came on the air, we were having a similar conversation about somebody else this week that played very, very poorly in the game of Survivor. And I think as you step back, you're going to realize that Chanel is the Kyle Moore of Survivor. So
that's a stretch. That's a stretch. That's a big stretch, Kylie.
I was defending you until you went there.
Okay, listen, that's a big stretch. Okay, hold on.
All right, we'll go back to Survivor.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Let's get back to Big Brother.
Yeah,
right. Wait, I have one thing to say real quick. So I'm so happy that this is the last episode that we will speak Kyle Moore's name. A. B. Why did Summer have to bring this to Gino's attention? Why wasn't Gino already thinking this? And that's going back to the strategic mind that you were talking about, Kylie. Gino just lacks that. That would have been my first thought, is this person is taking down the ship. Everybody's against him. Let me make friends with everyone and do everyone's dirty work so that I get in the good graces. So the fact that Summer had to be the one to bring that to the table just lets me down on Gino, as cute as he is.
So
I mean, like, I kind of agree with you a little bit, but I also see the aspect of like taking everyone to bring information to him as an effective strategy. I think that's the only thing he has going for Gino, is that everyone comes and brings information to him, but nobody decide. But then he doesn't make the decisions until like other people tell him to. So so like that's debatable. Like I do think like there is some strategy with Gino. I don't think he's listened to I don't think he's playing a followers game. But I don't think he's playing his own game at the moment until people tell him like, hey, listen, you should put Kyle up. It's better for your game. Or you should do this, or you should do that. I need to see Gino make an effective move on his own part before he decides to do something else. The only time I see him did that is when he put Marty up.
I think Kyle is a game bot, but that game bot has a virus. I honestly think that's what it is. What he is, because he like you can't say that he wasn't trying to take out threats. He wasn't trying to think strategy. He was a game bot, but with horrific ideas and
terrible reads.
Right. And to answer what you're saying, DeLucas, I think Gino's problem was that Kyle was his strategic brain. And when your strategic brain has a virus, you can't make strong decisions, which is why it took multiple conversations from Summer, and I assume from Tanisha, and I assume for other people, to actually get it to his head and lead him around the path. And then it took that aha moment of Kyle going in there and being the exact thing everybody said he was.
Yeah.
So it took time. Us men, it sometimes takes us time. Like we don't get it the first time. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, like it takes them like multiple conversations being like, hey, you have to put Kyle up. Okay. Hey, you have to put Kyle up. Okay. You have to put Kyle up. Okay. It took him like, I don't know how many conversations from Summer to finally actually get him to put up Kyle. That's what's funny.
So the decision is made. Gino wants to put Marty up. Gino wants to put Kyle up. You already did Marty. He goes to Kyle. He goes to actually Marty, and he says, "I think we need to put up Kyle, but keep up appearances in the veto competition." He goes to Kyle and has a very, very difficult conversation and tells him, "Kyle, I have no choice. I love you, but for my game, you have to go up." The veto comes. Marty
Sucks to
decides
suck.
It sucked to suck.
Love that.
Sucked to suck. I didn't fully get it, but fine. I don't know what that really means, but this is not a rated R show. And Kyle goes up on the block. Jess is happy. They think, oh, this is about to be a lot easier for me. Was this the right move?
1,000,000,000%.
I think
best decision he could have made.
I think that was really the only good move that he could have made, because any other move he could have done, he would have 100% see the block next weekend next to Kyle anyways. So it's better to just rip the band-aid now and just provide yourself a life jacket to get himself floating back to the rest of the floaters. Otherwise, you're going to get targeted sooner rather than later. So yeah, I think that was probably the only effective move he could have done to save his game.
Right. But arguably the biggest move we've seen so far. So does this make him a huge target down the road, right?
No.
I don't know.
Maybe, actually. Like I actually think this is a Summer move, truly. But I'm not sure people would see it as that. And I also don't think people give Gino the strategic credit. So I'm not sure anybody gets the blame for this.
I know. I think it's just a wash. Like, we basically, like you said, Sheldon, he has a virus. He is the virus in the house, and we have cut him out. And this is like a new week. We are starting over. We have out the one person everybody felt okay with leaving the house, and so we can just reset and start anew.
Yeah, now actually thinking about it, I think Sheldon brought up a good point. Like, I think even though Gino did put up Kyle and send Kyle home, I don't think Gino was off the rack yet. Reason being is that, like, if the wrong side of the house, if the wrong person wins HOH, Gino can most likely hit the block because potentially people could see him as a threat. And just because he did the due diligence of taking out Kyle, that still doesn't mean that people can't just point eyes at Gino and be like, we gotta cut the showmans. And when I mean cut the showmans, either cut Jail or Gino to go next. And the target on Gino's back has gotten a little smaller, but it's still there.
So we see next. Well, Kevin thought it was a great move.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah,
we see
I think we all agree to that.
I think we see a really weird conversation, and Kevin has a lot of these. But Kevin has this strange conversation with Jess. They want to talk with him. He's kind of like, I gotta go. We shouldn't be seen with each other. I don't want to talk to people. And then they're like, we need to talk. And
I'm on the block. Like, I'm going to be talking to everybody. It's okay.
And then he's like, oh, okay. I guess I have to. Do you trust me? Do you not trust? What is this a Kevin thing? Like, what the heck is this? Are they just two awkward people?
I think that might be it, but it's also like, I think this is also Kevin's paranoia. Because it's like, oh, I don't want to be targeted because we don't want to be seen together. Oh, I don't want to be targeted because we don't want to be seen together. He's like that with a lot of people. Maybe that's just his personality, or maybe that's just like he's just not used to maybe he's just not used to being perceived the wrong way. Like, if that makes sense. Like, maybe like he's thinking of like other people are thinking of him in a negative way, and that like makes him upset. Like, we've seen it happen with Betty, telling Kevin that she hates him. Like, even though that's like a iconic moment, like you can see in his eyes, like it low key hurt his feelings. So I think he needs to like fully just relax. He's not on the block. He's not in trouble. Just fully go with the crew and just figure out what the vibe is. But I think that's it.
Yeah. What I don't like about this conversation is like, Jess should assume that they have Kevin's vote. I mean, is that his name, Kevin?
Yeah.
Why did I just draw a vine? Kevin's vote. The conversation should have been less about, oh, I trust you, Kevin. I trust you, Kevin. The conversation should have been like, what's the plan? How do I get these people to vote to keep me? I mean, it is against Kyle. The odds are in my favor, but it was a little weird, and I can understand maybe Kevin feeling a little weird about it because you should assume that you have my vote, and let's come up with a plan of how we make the vote go in our favor. So I kind of understand why Kevin was a little weirded out by that conversation.
Yeah, and I also think that like they threw in another Kevin scene that wasn't really needed.
What, the spaghetti scene?
No, that was amazing.
I will get to that in a second. I'm talking about the Jess and Kevin scene. Like, here's the thing: there are scenes that are necessary for Kevin, but there are also some scenes that are just completely not relevant to the story.
Yeah.
Like I get Kevin is close with Jess, and Jess is on the block, so I guess that's why that's needed. But it doesn't, like, that scene itself wasn't really needed because it doesn't really change the relationship of Jess. So I don't really quite understand why that was even there in the first place.
Well, it's there because Kevin's
Character
entertaining
development.
and weird and awkward and a villain. Like that's why it was there. It's much more fun than watching Kyle sit on his ass looking like he took a shit.
Right. We need the character development.
Like,
I mean,
that's
you
what it
don't
is.
know, you don't know who is going to end up being your winner. You have to have, some investment into all of them because, this is happening in real time. And so, we have to get invested into that relationship of Kevin and Jess because this is a force that is gaining a little bit of momentum. These are two people that were really outsiders week one, and every week they are gaining more and more traction. And so you've got to focus on this relationship because I think down the road it's going to be a significant one.
We then see this really interesting conversation between Kyle and Helena. I felt a little bit deprived of Helena in the episode so far. But we see Helena actually, now that I think she feels a little bit more secure that Kyle's going home, Helena says to Kyle, I felt disrespected. Do you know what a piece of shit you are? She doesn't say that. But that's basically what she meant. And you see this strong, smart, intelligent woman come out and say, look at what you did. I loved this moment for Helena because I finally felt that, like, oh my God, she's here, she's doing things. And I'm sure she is actually doing game things somewhere, but we just haven't seen it on the show.
Yeah, like, I think this moment was definitely a 2 middle finger moment straight up to Kyle, specifically by Helena. I love this moment. I low key was like smiling the entire time. I was like, okay, Kyle, you absolutely deserve that embarrassment. And you deserve that you deserve that embarrassment from Summer. You deserve that from Moose. You deserve that from T. You deserve that from Josh. You deserve that from every player that was left in the game. So the fact that Helena had to tell that to his face, that low-key was like, that was mint. I find that hilarious. A good job to her.
For the sake of time, I have nothing to say about Helena at this point.
Ooh,
I just don't. I feel like it's wallpaper. I feel like I'm not either. She's not getting enough airtime for me to understand her game, and that could possibly be it. But this conversation didn't do anything for me to say, oh my God, Helena's doing a great thing. I mean, everybody feels that way. So what she's saying is not anything different than if that conversation would have been with Tanisha or Summer, and you could put anybody in that seat for that conversation. And I know you guys are fans of her, so I want to see more from her. And unfortunately, she's just not getting that.
I'm not a fan of her. I'm not a fan of her. I just don't know. And Kevin's great. She just
like, what do I work with here? Yeah, exactly, Kevin. And I don't watch the live feeds, so I'm basing my opinions based on the show. And that moment didn't do anything for me to feel like she's a great player or anything.
And that also touches back to like what we talked about earlier, like in terms of like with Kevin, we're having like an unnecessary Kevin scene that could have easily given to Helena. That could have slowly been given straight to like T, or maybe like just give it up to people. And just have those people like solely like just work on their resume like a little bit. We already seen like enough of Kevin. We know who Kevin is as a person. We hardly know much about Helena. Like, even though, she is doing a great, phenomenal game, but it's like the show is not focusing too much on her.
They're making a television show, and Kevin brings the entertainment, and Helena doesn't. So we have to go where the entertainment is.
So there, but even in that scene, like Helena looked great. She was feisty. She was like we need more of that.
That's
More
I
Helena
agree.
like that.
I agree.
You know what I feel like is lacking, and what maybe US does better than Canada is diary room, right? I want to hear their thoughts, and I'm not feeling like I'm getting enough of the strategy in the diary room. Like it's very like who's in the moment and whatnot. It's very quick, and we're getting these somewhat filler, moments in the house. Give me some strategy. Let Helena get in the room and tell me, what are you really thinking? Like what game are you playing? Are you under the radar? Are you not existent? Like what are you trying to do so I can understand it?
Mm-hmm.
So we then have a really great conversation with Summer, Marty, and Helena about race, about systemic racism. We're not going to get too far deep into it today, just because we're going to dive deep into it on our next episode on Tuesday. But just some initial thoughts. What do you think of that scene?
I mean, like, I'll start. The scene was definitely a touchy moment. It was definitely a little bit of an eye opener for like some of the people who has never like experienced that kind of racism, depending on in like low or rural areas or places that like don't have much diversity. So I would say like it's definitely a touchy subject to like highlight on, because like it still does happen like in all parts of the world. So yeah, like I'd say it's a very touchy moment, and regardless if Marty, Summer, and Helena are on the same page in terms of alliances, I still think it's a touchy moment for all three of them to like talk about it.
Yeah, it's a real world moment, and putting the game aside, and these not necessarily three people that are working completely together, but especially for Marty, who acknowledges, hey, I'm not from a place with a lot of diversity, and it's important for him to hear the stories and to know the struggles that other people go through, because he doesn't experience it in a firsthand manner. So
right.
Yeah. As someone who's never experienced racism, I can say that I've experienced the F word. That was also part of that conversation growing up. So for this moment, see somebody like Marty, who's involved in sports, which is, where a lot of that, comes from, and the machismo thing that he was talking about, it was a touching moment. And I think that it's moments like this on TV that we need everyone to see, that no matter where you come from, what you look like, what your background, what your sexual orientation is, we need to talk about these things and speak on them, because that's how we educate. So
It was a really interesting conversation, and we're going to dig a lot deeper to it on Tuesday. I think what stood out for me was we actually have a bit of an issue in Canada in some places with racism within the sport of hockey. We see it all the way up to the NHL and all the way down, as Marty said, to locker rooms. And even just having that one moment of, it's not okay to say the N-word. It's not okay to make fun of a person's sexuality. I think that it was an interesting moment, particularly for Canada, because of that tie-in. But we'll talk more about it on Tuesday. But, a special moment. I really actually enjoyed watching it. We then see that the house guests have been put on slop, because evidently, without any rationale, they have been being very bad, and not the way DeLucas wants Marty and Gino to be.
This is not an X-rated show. You said it yourself.
You're right. They probably weren't doing their dirty dishes, leaving a mess. I don't know. So they're on slop. And then we have the parade of telephones. The phone rings. Everybody gets crazy. Everybody runs. The first person that answers is Josh. Hi? Is this the Big Brother house? Oh, my God, you're my favorite house guest of all time. I got to tell all my friends. And then everybody keeps on calling. You see Marty answer, please hold. 24 minutes later, he's still holding.
I'm impressed that he held that long, because I'm not going to lie, the second time that they're like, thank you for holding, please hold, I've been like, hell no. Click.
Oh, come on. You're in a house, you haven't picked up a phone in the 30 days or 25 days. You're staying on that phone until you get an idol or the channel.
Like if Big Brother Canada throws in something like that, saying please hold, or like even if they were to do it like in secret, like you should at least like hold on for as long as you can. I don't care if it's 3 hours. I'm staying on the line until I hear something. Like Forget it.
Joke's on you because nothing
We
was coming
agree
through the
on
line.
something, Josh, because I am not hanging up that phone. I am
I
waiting
ain't
for that
dropping that.
power.
I
I'm
am.
Marty.
Quick.
I'm off the block. I don't need to scrounge for votes. I'm sitting on that phone until they say, congratulations, you've lasted the longest. You win this. So
Yeah.
joke would have been on me for staying there that
You
long,
would
but
have
I'm
still
doing
been
it.
there, DeLucas. You would
I'm
have still
doing it.
been there.
Yep.
We see Kevin pick up the phone and he goes to have a bath in spaghetti and he was nasty. He got his armpits all up in that thing. And luckily, because they did all of those tasks, Big Brother said, "Your punishment is over. Here's a stock pantry." Eat, 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 eat. Did you guys like the spaghetti stuff? Because I thought it was nauseating.
I think it's funny. I mean,
loved it.
that is part of the silliness of Big Brother that I don't mind because that's been, like their MO from the beginning. And so I like that. I liked seeing him have to get in that little, kiddie pool of spaghetti and
Okay.
roll
guys
it
think
out.
it was
I mean,
purposely
like if it could have been like some like Jello and you throw Gino in there. No.
Do you guys think it was purposely Kevin that they put
Possibly.
Kevin in there? So it looks a little awkward and he's silly. And
But here's the thing. Kevin is exactly what we want in a house guest. He doesn't take himself seriously, but yet is very strategic and is playing the game. I mean, I'm glad he's wiped out that whole woe is me attitude and he's becoming more of like a comedian and really, the whole suit thing. Like, I love what Kevin has given me. He is probably my favorite house guest of the season. Is it my favorite player? To be decided, but he just I like seeing him on TV and I like people like him who are there to experience the whole thing.
So we then see a really interesting scene where Betty has a really interesting line. Here's a scene between Jess, Helena, and Betty. And the ladies ask Jess, "Have you been campaigning?" And Jess says, No, not really campaigning. I'm just going to let Kyle sink himself. And Jess says, "Should I be worried?" And Betty says, yeah, you should be worried." What? What was that?
Hold up. Here's the thing. I think Jess knew that everybody was dead set on sending home Kyle. I think Betty doing that on purpose was just to make Jess more paranoid. I don't know for sure if she was if she said that on purpose or she just does it I really don't I don't know.
I don't think it was a thing of, oh no, you have something to worry about. Just kidding. I mean, she said it in dead ass. No,
it wasn't even sarcastic.
Why aren't you campaigning?
I was trying to process being was this sarcasm? I didn't quite understand what she was trying to do there.
I think it was solid advice from Betty, right? You're on the block. You should never count your chickens before they hatch. At least have conversations. Yes, I get the whole thing. Let Kyle burn down the house and but still you need to have conversations. And the only conversations we've seen Jess have this episode is with Kevin and one quick one with JL, where you need to be campaigning. At least just check in, how are things? Are we still good? So I thought it was solid advice. And again, Betty gives me life. I love it.
Fair enough. I think Jess doesn't realize that even though Kyle is leaving this week, Jess is still on the bottom. So I think this would have been the perfect opportunity for Jess to build up some relationships to get themselves in a higher pedestal within the house. But she didn't. But she hardly did that. And I think, had this not been Kyle, Jess would have campaigned a lot harder. And I'm low key kind of disappointed on that. But I kind of get why Jess didn't do that.
I don't know. I have one more point on that real quick. Yeah. I think you have to think in your mind, are people going to think, let's keep Kyle one more week because everybody's going to go after Kyle next week, right? Let's get rid of Jess because they are a threat. That's what I would be thinking. So I'm damn right I'm campaigning, whether it's just brief little moments. But again, we don't see everything, right? So maybe those conversations we're having and they just didn't get airtime.
What I didn't understand in that moment wasn't actually Jess's read. It was more so Betty knew that Kyle was leaving. Wouldn't she want to continue building a relationship with Jess and not freak them? I just think that's poor gameplay.
Because I don't think it was a thing of Betty saying, "Hey, Jess, I think that you should still have conversations with people and check in with them." She says, "You have something to be worried about."
It felt like
Yeah, I mean, it was like
scared.
almost like threatening.
It was weird to
not
me.
hey, you need to do your due diligence here, and you need to touch base with
I
people.
also loved every second of it because I was like, "Whoa, what, Betty? You just showed up."
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what's funny. Like in the very first week, like Jess and Betty were like completely different to what they are now. Now I think the roles are flipped. Like in my opinion, like I
Yeah,
think
maybe a
now
little
Betty's
bit.
more the aggressive one, and Jess is more of the tamer one for this week. I think the roles are flipped for both of them. So I think for Betty to like outright saying that to Jess was just kind of like, Betty could target me next week if I don't do something. Which means two things. Number one, obviously Betty will probably target Jess and Kevin, but also Jess can like target Betty, being like, "I didn't like the way that Betty was coming at me." Like that's poor. That's poor communication, like in my opinion. But hey.
We also skipped over the Betty and Kevin moment. Was that in these 2 episodes? I love that moment. Is
I
this
think
a
that was-
showman's
No, it was
waiting
in
to
the-
happen?
Which one are you talking about? Like the father scene?
Yeah, I love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah.
I love that. But
It
continue on.
was the last episode. Yeah, we covered it. But what do you think about that, DeLucas?
I think it's a showman's waiting to happen. I mean, from
Kevin's
the
got a
odd,
girlfriend.
the odd couple, I don't know.
As they say, like the opposite of hate,
Is what?
like the opposite of love isn't hate, but it's indifference. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
like love and hate are closer together than being indifferent on
Right.
somebody. And so it's like not that far of a stretch to go from, oh my gosh, I hate this person so much, to okay, maybe I hate them because there's some similarities here, as opposed to I just don't give a shit about this person at all.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of indifference, here's the vote, and by a unanimous vote, the House was pretty indifferent about Kyle, and Kyle went home.
Peace
But-
and blessings.
But on his way out, it's time to play a little Two Truths and a Lie.
I love this.
I love
Me
this too.
too.
Number one,
The only good thing Kyle did in the whole house. Love this.
Number one, my name is Kyle Moore. Number two, I climbed Mount Everest. Number three, on night one, I was given a secret power from Canada. I couldn't talk about it, or I would get an instant eviction. But now that I'm gone, it's unleashed again. Hint, hint. Number 12.
I loved it.
All bullshit.
Like,
All bullshit. What was this? Where was this guy the entire game?
okay. Like
Love
I think
that.
I think the whole episode covered the fact that like Kyle was just gonna lie his way on his way out the door, and that moment right there kind of solidified the cherry on top moment for him by trying to like playing the two truths and a lie. Like I think Kyle like laughing about himself on that one was definitely pure gold. I like that moment, but it also got people thinking, being like, wait. Was Kyle actually telling the truth, or was he actually lying? I think that was his objective, to stir the pot a little bit. That was
Of course.
fun.
Yeah.
Of course. He got me. I was like, wait, did I miss something in episode 1?
too.
I really questioned it for a minute, and I love this moment. I can't wait to see how it plays out, if it's really going to do what he thinks it's going to do.
I mean, since us two Americans, we don't have the live feeds. I mean, is this something that has been talked about? Are they like trying to figure out, was Kyle being legit, or was he just bullshitting? Is there any ramifications?
Josh,
Josh.
have you seen anything yet?
There's nothing there. Like the thing is that like there
Womp
was
womp,
talk.
Another flop from Kyle Moore.
Yeah.
Okay, like
On his
like,
way
they
out,
did
can't
tease-
even make a splash.
Like the feeds did tease that there is like hints of like potentially a power could be unleashed into the game, but nobody has found it yet. So it was a good way to put about it, but there's still like, even though it's not shown in the episodes, they're still looking for a power in the game, because there is one there. They just haven't found it yet.
So, quick question. Is
Yeah.
Kyle all-star material?
No.
No.
But wait, is this not a redemption story for an all-star season?
No.
Maybe
No.
for a second chance season for a pre-merge jury, but
There's
I
no
don't know.
merge.
No.
There's no
I
merge.
think
Wrong game.
everybody. I think everybody.
you got what I mean.
I think everybody has seen what they need to see from Kyle Moore.
Until next year, when Kyle Moore the third gets into
Oh.
the house.
The 3 Cowboys in a
Here's
row. Wouldn't that
hoping.
be hilarious?
Here's
So
hoping.
before we finish up tonight, we don't know who wins HOH. However, we do know what the competition is. it looks like many of the doors that we've all been seeing in the house are about to open. They have 4 minutes to look at all the doors, memorize what's behind them, including some BB Canada alumni who are right behind them, and go and answer some trivia questions. The winner wins HOH. Those of you who don't want to hear who won, walk away right now. Josh, who won HOH?
Okay, so the competition happened, and the winner of the HOH comp, which I did touch on Tuesday's night episode, it was
Who?
Jess.
Jess!
Jess won the HOH comp, and
I
now
love
it
this.
is. And now, let me just say, it is not looking good for Gino or Herman because they both put them up on the block. So we'll see where that takes them from here. But like Jess, I'm curious to see what Jess is going to do with this week. This is going to be interesting.
I think this is an opportunity for Jess to finally actually form something.
I agree.
I feel like Jess is kind of by themselves, has a little relationship here, has a little relationship there. But I think this is time to take advantage and really form bonds and say, hey, us 4, us 5, this is our HOH. Let's do something together.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what happens. That's it for tonight, folks. Kylie, anything on your mind before we leave?
No, I'm just excited to see what, BB Can icons are behind the mystery doors.
Amazing. DeLucas, what's on your mind?
Same here. This season is giving me everything that I want out of Big Brother. I wish the episodes were an hour and a half. I love talking shit with all of you guys, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Josh, I heard there's some really cool stuff in Pandemic Land.
Yes, the first episode of Pandemic is officially going to be dropped on April 6th. They will be dropped onto the Facebook page as well as the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can feel free to follow that. And we cannot wait to expand our fan base. We cannot wait to drop the first episode. While season 42 is going on, if you need another Survivor show to watch and you need to crave your Survivor fixation, the first episode will be dropped on that day. Mark that on your calendars. It is going to be a hell of a season.
Oh, boy. And for myself, for the fans, Tuesday, we're going to have our next episode of our BB Can recap with all your favorite people here, and maybe a few more. We're going to talk about Jess's HOH, who they nominate, and any other shenanigans that come up in the house. Thursday, we're back at 8 p.m. for our Survivor recap, and we'll see you here again next Friday night. Who leaves the house? Maybe it's going to be more than one person. You never know what BB Canada does, but probably not. Well, from outside the For the Fans house, I'm Sheldon, along with Kylie, Josh, and DeLucas. Y'all have yourself a really happy night.